Okay, so Mark Cuban has been on the receiving end of lots of praise lately due to a decision that he has made in regards to the pharmaceutical industry. So, this is an article from Forbes that details the following. Billionaire Mark Cuban opens online pharmacy to provide affordable generic drugs. This is pretty interesting. Let's take a look at this article. Billionaire investor Mark Cuban launched an online pharmacy Thursday that offers more than 100 generic drugs at an affordable price with the goal of being radically transparent in its price negotiations with drug companies. The Mark Cuban Post Plus Drugs Company, MCC PDC, is a registered pharmaceutical wholesaler and purchases drugs directly from manufacturers. Keep that in mind. That's very important. Bypassing middlemen to lower the price of more than 100 medications, it said in a statement. For example, the leukemia drug imatinib is priced at $47 on his site compared to the $9,657 retail price. The online pharmacy's prices for generics factor in a 15% margin on top of actual manufacturer prices and a $3 pharmacist fee, the statement said. The markup on generics average at least 100%, MCC PDC said, while the Wall Street Journal reports in some cases it exceeds 1,000%. That's outrageous. The company doesn't process insurance claims and requires customers to pay for their medications out of pocket, noting its drugs cost less than most insurance plans' deductible and copay requirements. Customers have to request a new prescription from their provider to place an order for medications on MCC PDC website. MCC PDC CEO Alex Oshmayansky reached out to Cuban with an idea for a low-cost generic drug company in a cold email. It was launched in January last year. They were motivated in part by former bro Martin Kelly's outrage-producing price hike of the life-saving drug Daraprim from $13.50 to $750 per tablet, while Shkreli was CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals. Cuban told Forbes last year the pricing for generic drugs was ridiculous. He said he decided to put his name on the company to show capitalism can be compassionate and to send the message, I am all in. It's not clear how much he had invested in the company. The company aims to complete the construction of an $11 million pharmaceutical factory in Dallas that spans roughly 22,000 square feet by the end of this year. $4.5 billion, that's how much Forbes estimates Cuban, the owner of the NBA Dallas Mavericks, is worth as of Thursday. Wow. So this is essentially what he's been getting praised for on social media. And people have been saying, kudos to Mark Cuban, and billionaires should do more of this, and this is amazing. Well, here's my take on it. Billionaires shouldn't have to do this at all. You want to know why? Because our government should. Okay? Now, first of all, Mark Cuban, I'll go ahead and admit it. I've watched my fair share of Shark Tank back in the day. I don't watch it anymore. I don't really have time to sit back and watch television anymore. But just from watching that show and seeing interviews of him and whatnot, first of all, I'm going to just go ahead and state, Mark Cuban is no blazing leftist, okay? He's no ally of ours, okay? That he's no ally of the massive people, no matter what this may lead you to believe or anything else he says. But there's one thing about Mark Cuban that's particular that I always found pretty interesting. Compared to many of the other rich assholes and billionaires and millionaires, etc., he seemingly has a soul. I know that's not a lot to say. I mean, everyone should have a soul, but so many of them seem so vapid and ridiculous and profit-driven, and I'm sure he has many of those same qualities, but at the very least, he seems to have a modicum of concern about the regular Joe Schmo. And you see things like this come into fruition as a result of it. Now, with that being said, as I alluded to before, he shouldn't have to do this. Yeah, he shouldn't. Want to know why? Because Congress, our government, the American government, can easily nationalize something like Big Pharma, which they should. They can easily negotiate lower drug prices for Americans, which every other country does for their population. And just notice how the prices of these drugs, when compared to drugs on his site, but just speaking generally, as I read in that article, the life-saving drug, this is a life-saving drug, Daraprim, $13.50 to $750. I mean, 100%, and as the Wall Street Journal pointed out, 1,000% increases in cost. These drug companies, they're screwing us over, man. They're screwing us over. And look at what happens. Look at what happens in Congress. They can't even get through lower drug price medication for the population. You know, there was that Princeton study that came out that I made a video about rather recently, that public opinion has virtually no effect on what gets passed in Congress. What is it? 80, 90% of people support lower drug prices? I mean, who wants to pay more money for their medicine? And we still can't get it. And we have people like Mark Cuban, rich billionaire assholes, stepping out to say, you know what? I think I'm gonna lower drug prices for you guys. I mean, what the fuck even? What is this? I don't even know how to describe this situation. But I want to return to what I told you to remember in the first part of this. His company, they are a registered pharmaceutical wholesaler. They're going to purchase drugs directly from the manufacturers, bypassing middlemen to lower the price of more than 100 medications. Notice how familiar that is. This is what happens with our health insurance companies and Big Pharma as well. So we have this unnecessary, some would call it rapacious because it is, middleman in regards to health, anything regarding health in this country, so in regards to pharmaceuticals, let's just stay on one certain topic for a moment. These drugs that, you know, can contain viruses and get rid of illnesses and all the rest of it, they get made in universities. They get made in labs, right? And they're funded by the taxpayers, by me and you. What happens after they're created is that Big Pharma comes in and buys up the rights to this medicine and then price gouges the fuck out of us. Don't you think that's wrong? Do you think that they should be able to do that? Because I don't. Yeah, and our government has the power to stop that. Our government has the power to get rid of them entirely, but they're choosing not to because Big Pharma owns our government. They fund their political campaigns, they give them money, so they're going to keep them around. That's a problem. The same thing with healthcare. What the fuck is privatized healthcare in the first place? Why do you have to pay however much money a month to this fucking healthcare company? You might not even end up needing care, and then when you do need the care, they don't even cover everything, and it's just a bunch of bullshit, and you're just getting screwed is what I'm telling you. Why isn't something like that paid for through tax dollars? It makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense. And the fact that a billionaire like Mark Cuban can come around and do something like this really shows the rot and the disconnect between the general population and the corrupt politicians making the decisions, but they're not really the ones making the decisions. It's really Big Pharma, the health insurance companies, the military industrial complex, and the people that actually own our government. Now, are there going to be people that are helped out by this, by his company? Sure, whatever. But don't be fooled by any of this, theatrical nonsense. The point is, and this is the most important thing that you should take away from this, we need to nationalize everything to do with health. We need to nationalize Big Pharma. Get rid of them entirely. They're price gouging us. They make the bulk of their profits. Public Citizen published a report where Big Pharma make the bulk of their profits here in America because we don't negotiate for lower drug price for Americans. We don't even negotiate. But anyway, all in all, this entire little situation here shouldn't be anything that should, that you should give praise to. It should really make you angry and question the system and really understand that we need a new one and that the things that we do right now don't work. They haven't been working for quite some time, and they're definitely not going to work in the future.